To begin Unit 3, we need to understand that the American Revolution did not emerge suddenly or accidentally. Its origins lie directly in the 7 Years' War, known in the colonies as the French and Indian War. This conflict was part of a broader series of global struggles between Britain and France known as the Wars for Empire, all rooted in mercantilism and competition for land, resources, and trade dominance. The immediate cause of the war was colonial expansion into the Ohio River Valley. British colonists pushed westward in search of land, while the French attempted to block this expansion by constructing fortified outposts. Tensions escalated when a young George Washington led a colonial militia against a French position, resulting in defeat and surrender. Despite this loss, Washington returned to Virginia as a hero, illustrating how colonial identity and pride were already forming. Most Native American tribes allied with the French, who historically had better relations with indigenous peoples due to their emphasis on trade rather than settlement. After years of fighting, Britain ultimately prevailed, emerging as the undisputed colonial power in North America. Under the Treaty of Paris, 1763, Britain gained control of Canada and nearly all land east of the Mississippi River, while France retained only a few profitable Caribbean islands, highlighting the mercantilist priority of profit over territory. The war dramatically reshaped relationships between Britain, the colonies, and Native Americans. During the conflict, British Prime Minister William Pitt encouraged colonial participation and cooperation, fostering goodwill. However, leadership changes after the war ended this cooperation, and colonists quickly felt abandoned and exploited. For Native Americans, the British victory was disastrous. Without the French as a counterbalance, indigenous groups lost diplomatic leverage. British officials raised prices on goods sold to Native Americans and stopped paying for the use of Western forts. In response, Pontiac, an Ottawa war leader, organized a widespread resistance known as Pontiac's Rebellion. Colonial retaliation included violence, such as the Boston Massacre of the Susquehannock, demonstrating growing frontier hostility and racial tension. Amid the war, Benjamin Franklin proposed the Albany Plan of Union in 1754, calling for a unified colonial government to coordinate defense and taxation. Representatives from 7 colonies met to consider the proposal and negotiate with the Iroquois. Ultimately, the plan failed because colonists were unwilling to surrender their right to self-taxation or submit to centralized authority. Franklin famously expressed his frustration in the Join or Die cartoon, foreshadowing future debates over unity. Following the war, Britain faced enormous debt and decided that the colonies should help pay for their own defense. King George III and Prime Minister George Grenville argued that colonial taxation was justified, while colonists believed they had already contributed through military service. Parliament passed a series of new taxes and regulations, beginning with the Sugar Act of 1764, which aimed to curb smuggling and enforce duties more strictly. Although the tax on molasses was technically lowered, colonists were outraged by strict enforcement, the use of vice admiralty courts, and the loss of jury trials. These measures suggested that Parliament was infringing on the colonists' rights as Englishmen. Discontent intensified with the Stamp Act of 1765, the first direct tax levied on the colonies. Because it taxed legal documents, newspapers, and licenses, it affected nearly every colonist and directly challenged the tradition of self-taxation. Resistance was immediate and widespread. Opposition to the Stamp Act united colonists as never before. James Otis articulated the argument of no taxation without representation, while Patrick Henry's Virginia Resolves asserted colonial self-government. Protest groups such as the Sons of Liberty organized boycotts and intimidation campaigns so effective that tax collectors resigned en masse. Parliament repealed the Stamp Act in 1766, but simultaneously passed the Declaratory Act, asserting its authority to legislate for the colonies in all cases whatsoever. The fundamental conflict over sovereignty remained unresolved. The Townshend Acts placed taxes on imported British goods and paid royal officials directly, undermining colonial assemblies' power. Colonists responded with coordinated boycotts, Organized through letters and committees, women played a crucial role by producing domestic substitutes for British goods. Tensions escalated further with the Quartering Act, which stationed British troops in colonial cities, particularly Boston. Economic competition and resentment culminated in the Boston Massacre of 1770. Though only 5 colonists were killed, propaganda transformed the event into a symbol of British tyranny. After a brief lull, resistance reignited with the creation of committees of correspondence, which spread revolutionary ideas across colonies. British favoritism toward the East India Tea Company led to the Boston Tea Party, prompting Parliament to pass the coercive Intolerable Acts, which punished Massachusetts and curtailed self-government. In response, colonial leaders convened the First Continental Congress in 1774. Delegates agreed on economic resistance and formed the Continental Association, effectively creating shadow governments. As British authority weakened, colonial militias organized and armed themselves. Conflict erupted in April 1775 at Lexington and Concord, where the shot heard round the world marked the beginning of armed resistance. The Second Continental Congress assumed control of the rebellion, forming the Continental Army and appointing George Washington as commander. Although many hoped for reconciliation, the Olive Branch Petition was rejected by King George III. Public opinion shifted decisively after Thomas Paine's Common Sense, which attacked monarchy and promoted republican government in plain language. In July 1776, Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, articulating Enlightenment principles of natural rights and popular sovereignty. After independence, the Articles of Confederation created a weak central government to prevent tyranny. However, its inability to tax, regulate trade, or maintain order became clear during Shays' Rebellion, prompting calls for reform. The Constitutional Convention of 1787 replaced the Articles with a stronger federal system featuring checks and balances, federalism, and compromise. Ratification required assurances of individual liberties, leading to the Bill of Rights. Under George Washington, the new government established legitimacy, economic stability, and foreign neutrality. Political divisions emerged between Federalists and Democratic Republicans, forming the nation's first-party system. Washington's presidency set enduring precedents, while John Adams's administration tested civil liberties during the Alien and Sedition Acts. Opposition through the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions reflected ongoing debates about federal power and states' rights.